My husband spied on us, sabotaged my computer, and let a friend manipulate our marriage. I'm now deciding on our future. So, my husband saw some TikTok videos this week. You know those ones where couples say, "We listen and we don't judge," then confess something funny or embarrassing they've done behind their partner's back? He really wanted us to try it. He said he had something super funny to admit, but I had to go first. I thought, okay, fine. So I told him something small. Like how I accidentally ate the last piece of pizza when I said I didn't want any. Then it was his turn. And oh man, what he said blew me away. He admitted that 2 years ago, he messed up my computer on purpose. Like, totally wrecked it. Back in 2022, my computer just stopped working right out of nowhere. It got so slow I could barely use it for school stuff or even play games with my siblings online. See, I don't live near them anymore, so gaming is one way we stay connected. But after he ruined my computer, I couldn't even do that. Plus, I'm the only one working right now, so buying a new computer wasn't an option. Here's the thing, he told me it would only take him a minute or two to fix whatever he did. But instead of fixing it, he just left it broken. Why? Because he said I should spend all my time with him and not play games a few times a week. Can you believe that? Now, I feel so betrayed. My feelings are hurt, and I can't stop thinking about whether there are other things he's done without telling me. We've been married for 6 years, and I trusted him completely. Now I don't know who to trust. How am I supposed to move past something like this? Is it even possible? So, after everything that went down with the whole computer sabotage thing, life got complicated. Like, way more than I thought it would. At first, I was just trying to process what happened. My husband admitted he broke my computer because he didn't want me playing games with my siblings. That alone felt like a punch to the gut. But then, weird stuff started happening. The next day, I noticed something odd. My phone kept buzzing with notifications from apps I don't even use anymore. Old social media accounts I hadn't touched in years suddenly had activity. Posts I never made, comments under my name, it was all there. At first, I thought maybe someone hacked into my account or something. But when I checked the timestamps, they lined up perfectly with times when my husband was home alone. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. I confronted him about it. He shrugged it off at first, saying it must have been a glitch or some random hacker. But the look in his eyes told me otherwise. There was this pause, this hesitation, before he spoke. It made me wonder, how deep does this go? What else has he been hiding? Then came the email. Out of nowhere, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Thought you should know." Inside was a screenshot of a conversation between two people. One of them was clearly my husband. The other person? Someone I barely knew, a coworker of his who left the company last year. They were talking about me. About things only he would know. Personal stuff. Things that shouldn't have been shared. I asked him about it. This time, he didn't dodge. He admitted to having conversations with her about our relationship. Not casual ones either. Detailed ones. Ones where he aired out every little issue we've ever had. And here's the kicker. He said he did it because he wanted advice. Advice on how to fix us. Except, if that was true, why didn't he tell me? Why keep it secret? That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions. Was this a one-time thing, or part of a bigger pattern? Did he talk to others too? How many people knew things about me that I didn't even know he'd told them? It felt like walking through a minefield. Every step could lead to another bomb exploding. Meanwhile, work became its own kind of chaos. My boss pulled me aside for a meeting. Turns out, someone had been sending emails from my account. Emails I definitely didn't write. Requests for favors, changes to project timelines, updates no one asked for. All signed off with my signature. My boss didn't accuse me directly, but the suspicion hung heavy in the air. By the end of the week, HR called me in for a formal discussion. At home, things weren't much better. Our usual routines fell apart. Meals went uncooked, laundry piled up, dishes sat in the sink for days. Neither of us wanted to be the first to break the silence. When we did speak, it was tense, clipped sentences filled with unspoken accusations. One evening, he brought up therapy. Said maybe it was time we tried couples counseling. Part of me wanted to agree, to give it a shot. Another part wondered if he was just trying to buy himself more time. And then there was the letter. A physical letter, tucked inside a book on our shelf. I found it by accident while looking for something else. Handwritten, addressed to me. From him. The date on it matched the anniversary of our wedding. A day we usually celebrate together. But this letter wasn't celebratory. It was different. In it, he talked about feeling stuck, overwhelmed, unsure of where we were headed as a couple. He mentioned doubts, fears, regrets. Stuff I'd never heard him say out loud. Reading it felt like peeling back layers of a person I thought I knew. But here's the twist: the handwriting didn't match his. It looked familiar, though. Too familiar. After staring at it for a while, it hit me. It belonged to someone else. Someone close to him. Someone whose voice I recognized from late-night calls I overheard months ago. Someone who seemed to understand him better than I did. Now, I'm not sure what to believe anymore. Is he capable of these things? Could he really have gone this far without telling me? Or is there someone pulling strings behind the scenes, manipulating both of us? Either way, I feel trapped. Trapped in a web of lies, half-truths, and unanswered questions. Yesterday, I decided to take action. I installed a monitoring app on my devices. Not to spy, but to protect myself. If anything strange happens again, I'll know immediately. I also started documenting everything. Texts, emails, screenshots of conversations. Just in case. Because if this goes further, I need proof. Proof that what I'm experiencing isn't just paranoia. Today, I walked into our bedroom and saw him sitting on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. He looked up when I entered, and for a moment, I saw something raw in his expression. Regret? Fear? Both? Before I could ask, he spoke. I messed up, he said. Big time. And I don't know how to fix it. For once, he sounded genuine. But is that enough? Can trust be rebuilt after so much damage? Or am I just setting myself up for another fall? Things have been spiraling in ways I didn't think possible. After everything that happened, the emails, the letter, the strange behavior, I thought I'd hit rock bottom. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. The next morning, I woke up to find my husband acting weird. He was pacing around the kitchen, muttering under his breath. When I asked what was going on, he froze for a second before saying, "Nothing." That word, nothing, has become his go-to lately. It's like he thinks if he says it enough, I'll stop asking questions. Spoiler, it doesn't work. Later that day, I noticed something unusual. Our home Wi-Fi kept cutting out randomly. Not just slow, it completely disconnected. At first, I figured it was a router issue or maybe the service provider messing up. But then I remembered how he admitted to messing with my computer. Could this be another one of his tricks? Or is something else at play? I decided to check the router logs. Yeah, I know. It sounds techie, but it's not as complicated as it seems. Basically, these logs show who's connected to your Wi-Fi and when. What I found blew my mind. There were devices listed there that didn't belong to us. Unknown phones, tablets, even a laptop. Stranger still, they all had names that sounded fake. Things like Bob123 or guest device. At first, I thought it might be neighbors piggybacking on our connection. Happens sometimes, right? But then I saw the timestamps. These devices connected during odd hours. Midnight, 3 a.m., 5 a.m. Times when most people aren't online unless they're doing something they don't want others to see. I confronted him again. This time, he didn't deny it outright. Instead, he gave me this long explanation about needing extra bandwidth for work projects. Except, here's the thing. He works from home, sure, but his job doesn't require half the stuff he claimed. Plus, why use random devices instead of his own laptop? While we were arguing, my phone buzzed. Another notification. This one was different though. It wasn't from an app or social media. It was a text message. From a number I didn't recognize. The message read, "He's watching you." Just those 3 words. No context, no signature, nothing. My heart dropped. Watching me? How? Why? I showed it to him immediately. His reaction? A mix of panic and denial. He swore he didn't send it. Said it must have been a prank or spam. But the look in his eyes told me otherwise. There was fear there. Real fear. And that scared me more than anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made me jump. Every creak in the house felt like someone was there. Paranoia set in hard. By morning, I knew I had to do something drastic. So, I did what anyone would do. I unplugged everything. Router, modem, smart speakers, even the security camera we installed last year. If someone, or something, was monitoring us, I wanted to cut off their access. But guess what? It didn't help. Later that afternoon, I got another text. Same number, same tone. You can't hide forever. Now, I'm not usually the type to freak out over texts, but this felt personal. Like whoever was sending them knew exactly who I was and what I was thinking. To make matters worse, my boss called me into another meeting. Turns out, the email scandal from before wasn't over. Someone, again, using my account, had sent out confidential information to clients. Clients who weren't supposed to receive it. My boss didn't fire me, but trust is thin now. They're keeping a close eye on my work, which makes every task feel like walking on eggshells. Meanwhile, things at home are strained. We barely talk anymore. Meals are silent affairs, filled with awkward glances and unspoken tension. Even the dog senses it. She keeps looking between us like she's trying to figure out what's wrong. One evening, I stumbled upon something unexpected. While cleaning out the garage, I found an old box labeled miscellaneous. Inside were photos, letters, and other memorabilia from our early days together. Nothing too exciting, except for one item: a journal. It wasn't mine. It was his. Flipping through it, I saw entries dating back years. Some were normal. Stuff about work, hobbies, family. Others, not so much. There were passages where he talked about feeling trapped. About wanting freedom but being tied down by responsibilities. One entry stood out. It mentioned someone named Alex. Not a name I recognized. According to the journal, Alex was someone he met during a business trip. Someone who understood him in ways no one else did. Someone he trusted implicitly. Now, I'm not jumping to conclusions here. But finding this after everything else feels significant. Is Alex the person behind the emails? The texts? The mysterious devices on our Wi-Fi? Or is this just another layer to the puzzle? Yesterday, I tried talking to him again. This time, I brought up the journal. He went pale. For a moment, I thought he'd deny it, like always. But instead, he sighed and said, "Okay, you deserve answers." What followed was a confession that left me speechless. He admitted to knowing Alex for years. Not romantically, he insisted, but professionally. Alex helped him navigate some tough decisions at work. Over time, they became close friends. Close enough that he confided in Alex about our relationship issues. Close enough that Alex started offering advice. Not just on work, but on life. On how to handle me. Here's the kicker: Alex wasn't happy with how things were going. According to my husband, Alex believed I was holding him back. That I didn't support his ambitions enough. That I prioritized my siblings and my interests over him. Hearing him say those words hurt, but what hurt more was realizing someone else had such strong opinions about my marriage. So, where does that leave me? Do I confront Alex? Do I demand more answers from my husband? Or do I walk away entirely? Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's hard to rebuild. But staying means risking further betrayal. Leaving means giving up on 6 years of history. Tonight, as I sit here typing this, I realize one thing: I need space. Space to think, to process, to decide what comes next. Whatever happens, I owe it to myself to figure it out without distractions. Without texts, emails, or hidden agendas clouding my judgment. Things have been building up for weeks now, and I can't deny that I've spent most of my time feeling like I'm stuck in some twisted version of a thriller movie. The emails, the texts, the mysterious devices on our Wi-Fi, all of it pointed to something bigger than just a marriage issue. But as much as I wanted answers, I also knew that rushing into anything would only make things worse. After my husband's confession about Alex, I needed space. Real space. Not just physical distance, but mental clarity. So, I took a few days off work and rented a small cabin in the woods. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal, nothing but trees and quiet. It was exactly what I needed to sort through everything without distractions. While I was there, I thought a lot about us. About how we got here, about the choices he made, and about whether I could forgive him. Forgiveness isn't easy, especially when you feel like someone you trusted has been playing games with your life. But I also realized something important: forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means deciding if you're willing to move forward despite the pain. On the third day of my retreat, I decided to take action. Not drastic action, but calculated steps to understand what was really going on. First, I reached out to a friend who works in cybersecurity. I explained the situation. The strange devices on our Wi-Fi, the suspicious texts. And asked if they could help me dig deeper. They agreed, and within hours, they sent me a report that made my jaw drop. Turns out, those devices weren't random strangers or neighbors stealing our internet. They were virtual machines set up by, wait for it, Alex. Yes, the same Alex my husband had been confiding in for years. These machines were designed to monitor our activity. Emails, messages, even voice calls. Essentially, Alex had been spying on us. Why? That part wasn't clear yet, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that I finally had proof. Armed with this new information, I returned home ready to confront both my husband and Alex. When I walked in, though, something felt off. He looked nervous, pacing back and forth in the living room. Before I could say anything, he blurted out, "I need to tell you something." For once, I let him talk. He admitted that Alex had been pressuring him for months, pressuring him to change, to prioritize their friendship over our marriage. At first, he resisted, but over time, Alex's influence grew stronger. My husband confessed that he'd allowed Alex to install the monitoring tools because he thought it would help them fix our relationship from the outside. Fix it? By invading my privacy? Yeah, not exactly the healthiest approach. I sat there, processing what he said. Part of me wanted to scream, to yell, to demand answers. But another part of me understood that yelling wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I asked one simple question: why didn't you come to me? His answer surprised me. He said he felt ashamed. Ashamed of feeling stuck, of doubting our marriage, of needing advice from someone else. He thought admitting his struggles would make him seem weak. Hearing that broke my heart, but it also gave me a glimmer of hope. If he was willing to admit his mistakes, maybe there was still a chance for us. The next step was obvious: Alex needed to be dealt with. I called him. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed closure. Our conversation was tense at first. He tried to justify his actions, saying he only wanted to help. Help by spying on me? Yeah, no thanks. Eventually, he apologized, albeit reluctantly. Whether his apology was genuine or not, I'll never know. What I do know is that his involvement in our lives ends now. With Alex out of the picture, my husband and I started working on rebuilding trust. It's not easy, and it won't happen overnight. Every day brings new challenges, moments where doubt creeps in, where old wounds resurface. But we're taking it slow, one step at a time. We've agreed to go to couples counseling, not because we think it'll magically fix everything, but because we believe communication is key. As for the job situation, my boss eventually dropped the investigation into the email scandal. Turns out, the department traced the breach back to an external source. Yep, Alex again. While I'm grateful for the outcome, it's a reminder of how close I came to losing everything because of someone else's actions. Looking back, I realize this whole ordeal taught me a valuable lesson: relationships are messy. People make mistakes, sometimes big ones. What matters most is how you choose to handle them. For me, walking away wasn't the answer. Giving up on 6 years of history felt like throwing away something worth fighting for. And yeah, it's hard. Some days, it feels impossible. But other days, it feels hopeful. Today, as I sit here typing this, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in months. Peace doesn't mean everything is perfect, it means I'm finally moving forward. With each passing day, the weight on my shoulders lifts a little more. The future is uncertain, sure, but at least I'm facing it with eyes wide open. And honestly, that's all anyone can ask for.